We're quickly going to review for the water cycle. Your test will either be on, I believe your test will be on Wednesday. So you're going to be able to use this to study, and you are also going to be able to use the Quizlet to study and any other notes that we've taken so far. Number 1, water vapor. This is a matching activity. There will be some matching on your test. I know that vapor is a gas in grade.
This interruption. I need for you guys to each choose one student with a hat and a mask and send them down so that I can take a picture. A hat and a mask, one student each. Thank you.
Like I said, I know that vapor is a gas, so our answer has to do something with gas. So I know that A has to do with gas. And A is the only one, so A has to be water vapor. Water in its gas form. Number 2 is groundwater. Groundwater is pretty self-explanatory. It's water on the ground. Let's see, water that is in the ground, or the continuous process by which water moves from Earth's surface to the atmosphere and back. Since groundwater doesn't talk about the atmosphere, it has to be B. And I know our last one is C, but it is C because we talk about the continuous process. This is basically just another way to say cycle. I'm sorry, I said B, I think. We know that the water cycle is C because of the continuous process, part of the answer. Let's do a couple multiple choice questions. When precipitation hits the ground, it is either absorbed or it flows over the surface of the earth. This can be evaporation, water cycle, precipitation, or runoff. If I look at my answer choices, I know that the water cycle is the whole process, and this doesn't include the whole process. So that tells me that B is not the right answer. I know that evaporation is changing from a liquid to a gas. When I look in the question, precipitation is liquid. It hits the ground and it is either absorbed or it flows over the surface of the earth. I know that evaporation means that the liquid is going into the sky, so it can't be A. Precipitation. When precipitation hits the ground, it is either absorbed or it flows over the surface of the earth. I know precipitation is a liquid. I know that precipitation is either rain, sleet, hail, or snow. So let's see, it starts in the sky and it is never absorbed, or at least not during the falling process. So I know that's probably not precipitation, which leaves runoff. I know that runoff has to have precipitation. I know that runoff has to hit the ground. And is either absorbed, that would be groundwater, or it flows over the surface. This flowing over the surface part talks specifically about groundwater, so I know this is the right answer. Number 2, water vapor cools and becomes a liquid. Condensation, I know that starts out as a gas and turns into a liquid. Precipitation, we just said earlier, is a liquid, but it doesn't change states, so it stays as either rain, sleet, hail, or snow. Groundwater is water, which is a liquid. But again, this one doesn't change states. It stays on the ground or in the ground. And water vapor. I know water vapor is a gas. So that tells me that my answer, because it's the only one that changes state, and since I know water vapor is a gas going to a liquid from up here, the only possible answer is A, condensation. Number 3, a process at which molecules at the surface of a liquid absorb enough energy to change the gaseous state. Once again, evaporation is a liquid to a gas. Precipitation stays a liquid. Transpiration is also liquid to a gas, but in plants. And condensation would be a gas to a liquid. Let's look back at our question. A process at which molecules at the surface of a liquid, so it starts out as a liquid. If it doesn't start out as a liquid, it's probably not our answer, which rules out D. Process at which molecules at the surface of a liquid absorb enough energy to change to the gaseous state. So I'm going from a liquid to a gas. So now I only have evaporation and transpiration. Precipitation is out. At this point, you have to choose what the best answer is. That means either A or C, because both change from a liquid to a gas. However, it doesn't specifically say anything about plants, so we're going to be safe and go with A. Our last two questions are true and false questions. Number 1, the water that plants give off as part of their respiratory process, they breathe in carbon dioxide and breathe out oxygen. We'll talk about that later. In this process, they also make water. Is this transpiration? If we look back up here, we just said transpiration is a liquid to a gas. Plants give off as part of their water, starts as water. Plants give it off as part of their respiratory process. Doesn't talk about gas yet in there. We know it changes from a liquid to a gas, and we know it has to do with plants. So the only thing that has to do with plants when we're talking about the water cycle is transpiration. So we know that this one is true. And our last question. Energy from the sun is what drives the water cycle. Guys, energy from the sun is what drives just about every process that the earth goes through. So this one's also true. When you're done, I want you to go to the back of your paper. And on this paper, you're going to draw the water cycle. Use your notes to help you. When you're done, your water cycle should look something like this. You should always have the sun, evaporation, condensation, precipitation. Include transpiration so that you know that that's evaporation from a plant. We have runoff, and we have storage, accumulation, or collection, whichever you want to call it. Remember, your test is coming up quickly, so you should study every night for your test. Use this, use your study guide, use Quizlet, and use your notes.